Hi, team. I'm surrounded by microphones here today, aren't I? Holy smokes. Hopefully, one of them picks me up. I'm looking at some of your conversation, which is already sparking a back and forth about immigration policy. And I see that Pete Freundlich says my grandfather was killed in Dachau. Wow. Holy smokes. Um, Thomas DeVerney. My granddaughter cannot get auto U.S. citizenship because my son hasn't spent a required amount of time in the US. It's such a patchwork, isn't it? We got to get it fixed. I'll come back to the poll question of the day today in just a second. But on all of my platforms, the first words that I need to say today are thank you. Thank you to those who purchased Smerconish 2024. You gave me a great honor on Friday night at this gala in Philadelphia to be able to stand up in front of a ballroom of people in Western garb celebrating the Children's Crisis Treatment Center and to hand over a check for $185,251, which I rounded up to make it a flat 200 grand. That is what we raised by having fun, right? By assembling the book of all the editorial cartoonists who are telling the story of the 2024 election, and then getting copy number 1 delivered to me at the gala. I wasn't able to look at it on Friday night. I wasn't able to look at it on Saturday because of my CNN show and family responsibilities, and I didn't want to look at it piecemeal. But when the house got quiet on Saturday, I was able to flip through all 300 plus pages. It is so exquisitely produced, and you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And shipping begins this week, so fingers crossed everybody gets their copy of Smerconish in time for the holidays. So thank you so much to those of you who bought the book. Couldn't be more excited. We really did some good. We did some good from this. Thank you, Parks Casino. Detroit Pro Football has won 11 straight games. They're now 12-1. The Birds in Philly, they're a little closer than we thought yesterday, wasn't it? They've won 9 games. They're now 11-2. There's a collision course. Detroit and Philly coming. Plus, on the college football playoff, this is exciting. I have the story in the newsletter today about the bracket, and December 20, I guess, begins. That's going to be really exciting. That is going to be really exciting. And I know some people think, oh, Alabama should have been in the mix, but I don't think so. Whether your team scores or not, there's always another way to win on the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app in Michigan, or BetParks app in Philly, in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Maryland. BetParks and Play Gun Lake are the only apps that I ever use, and I recommend that you bet sports and play all your favorite casino games for real money via these avenues. Have some skin in the game. Make your downtime fun time. The hot online slots that are based on the movie Ted, or I love that movie, pardon me, or Rocky. You can play slots based on TV shows like Breaking Bad and Peaky Blinders. They've got it all going on. You got to be 21 and in Michigan for Play Gun Lake, or 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Michigan for BetParks app. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, so the poll question today at Smerconish.com. Let me take a sip. The president-elect was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker yesterday on NBC. They taped it in advance, so there were some things that you might have thought he would get into relative to, say, Syria, but they had taped it in advance. It made a lot of headlines, including the fact that it remains his intention to pardon the J6ers. We'll be doing that again on the program soon. But on immigration, he frames the following question at Smerconish.com. What should be the immigration response to families with parents who arrived illegally, but the children were born in the U.S.? And I'm giving you 3 choices. Deport the entire family, which is what the president-elect said yesterday. Deport the entire family, deport the parents, allowing the children to stay, or allow the entire family to stay. Let me make clear, because this is confusing subject area. We're not talking about dreamers. These are U.S. citizens. This is not DACA. This is DAPA, if you remember from the Obama years, and it's complicated. If you're born here, then you are a U.S. citizen. We have birthright citizenship. It's enshrined in the 14th Amendment. So you've got these mixed family status in many, many cases where the parents came here illegally, but they had children while they were here by virtue of birthright citizenship. The kids are U.S. citizens. But as a family unit, not everybody is square. So what do you do? President-elect Trump told Kristen Welker, she said, let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. And Donald Trump's response was, I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them back. Well, of course, others hearing that say, no, if you want to keep them together, then you allow the parents to stay as well. I mean, that's the choice, and nothing's easy. The kids are here as citizens. The parents are illegal. You keep the family unit together and ship them all out. But then you're sending U.S. citizens. You're forcing the deportation of U.S. citizens. That doesn't sound right. And that's what he's advocating. On the other hand, if you say, okay, the family unit gets to stay, then you're giving a pass to the parents. What should be the immigration response to families with parents who arrive illegally, but the children are born in the U.S.? Deport the entire family, deport the parents, allowing the children to stay, or allow the entire family to stay. None of it's easy. On one hand, you can say, well, proponents of deporting families with mixed immigration status together argue that it preserves the family unit, which is a core humanitarian value. They say that deporting families as a unit prevents the traumatic experience of family separation, which can cause long-lasting psychological harm, especially to kids. Critics, they highlight that deporting families with mixed immigration status as a whole can unjustly penalize U.S.-born children. I got to say, that's where I come down. None of this is easy, but I can't endorse a process which says you are a U.S. citizen, and now we're going to remove you. Now, Donald Trump says in that interview that he also wants, and we've asked this as a poll question previously, and I remember it was overwhelmingly to uphold birthright citizenship. Donald Trump said to Kristen Welker, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said that this is totally unique to the U.S. It's not totally unique to the U.S., but it's relatively unique. I think about 30 nations of more than 200 recognize birthright citizenship. If you go to the UK, and you have a child, that child is not a citizen of the United Kingdom. We are unique relative to a number of our normal allies. So I'm game. I'll say this. I'd like to have a debate. I think it is a legitimate issue for conversation whether there should be birthright citizenship. But right now we have it. So if there are kids who are citizens who are here, I am not for removing them. I am not for removing them. And then you say to me, okay, Michael, do you want to split up their family? I don't. So, Michael, what you're really saying is you're going to let the parents stay. Yeah, I probably am. I'm not going to regard them as citizens. I'm going to give them an opportunity to get right with the law. Well, Michael, aren't you then rewarding parents who came here illegally and had children and therefore secured their position? Aren't you rewarding them as compared to somebody who's standing in line and doing it the lawful way? Yeah, I probably am, and I'm not happy about it. I probably am, but I'm not happy about it. Because if you tell me the choice is, I want to keep the family together. But if you tell me that the choice is to deport kids who are citizens who get to stay with their parents but must leave the country versus the family unit gets to stay intact in the U.S., I'm probably going in the latter category. But for God's sakes, can we finally set some rules? Can we use Trump coming in as a fresh opportunity to get the system right And one other thing, we wouldn't have kids who are here as citizens with parents who are here illegally if the borders had not been so porous for so long. So if I were in charge, first rule of thumb is secure the border. Stop this from happening. And now work with D's and R's and establish some rules. And establish some rules for kids who are here, who were born here, and they are citizens consequently. What do we do with their parents? And what are we going to do about dreamers who they weren't born here, but their parents came into the US illegally? The kids were already born elsewhere, so they're not citizens, but this is the only country they've ever known. Like to throw out the dreamers seems equally reprehensible to me. Yeah, in the end, the only way to resolve this is going to be unfair to somebody. Somebody is going to be able to do a comparison and say, "Wait a minute, you're giving slack to this group, but not to this group." I don't see any way around that. There's going to be some fundamental unfairness in this process. Stop it from happening, and let's try and make it right. Good poll question, though, right? Good poll question at Smerconish.com today. One other thing relative to poll questions that I wanted to tell you. Yeah, here's today. What should be the immigration response to families with parents who arrive illegally, but the children were born in the U.S.? Deport the entire family, deport the parents, allowing the kids to stay, or allow the entire family to stay. We had a lot of voting over the weekend over a variety of different poll questions, including the Saturday poll question. Yeah, the Saturday poll question. Where are we? Here it is. That shooting of the United Healthcare CEO prompted me to ask this. Will the tasteless reaction of some to the murder of Brian Thompson nevertheless lead to positive change in the health insurance industry? 45,302 voted. 78.29% said no. No, the whole conversation that's now been sparked, and if you watched me on CNN on Saturday, I related to the television audience what went down on POTUS on Friday. And I hoped that nothing justifies the killing of the CEO. But the point that I tried to make on television is that there was good conversation had on my radio program on Friday without any of the vitriol, without any of the disgusting comments about this man's execution. Like, people wanted to legitimately talk about how to improve coverage in this country. And so I was wondering, might there be a silver lining in all of this? But nearly 80% said no, there will not be. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is that given all the events in Syria, yesterday I kind of had a trick up my sleeve. I wanted to ask about Syria yesterday, given the fall of the al-Assad regime and the fact that he is now in Russia with Putin. Good riddance. So I wanted to ask whether the U.S. ought to be involved militarily. But you know how we always have this conversation on the program about how the poll results seem a bit out of sync with the calls to the program, much more left in the poll results than the calls to the program suggest. So the wording of yesterday's poll question was this. I forced you to have to agree with Donald Trump. And you did. Do you agree with President-elect Trump that the U.S. military should stay out of Syria? 26,114, kind of typical for a Sunday vote. 84.46% said yes. I figured that the majority opinion would be, let's stay out of Syria. But I deliberately couched it as, do you agree with Donald Trump? Because I wondered whether people would be dissuaded if they had to agree with Donald Trump. And they were not dissuaded. They still agreed with Trump, and they said we should not be involved in Syria. So, Hamilton White, there were no laws used at Ellis Island. Those refused were on medical grounds or if someone admitted to criminality. Otherwise, almost everyone was admitted. Interesting. No more endless wars, says Jeffrey Wood. I agree with that. Don't we all? The question was wrong, says Robert Britchko, based on the fact that we have troops there already. Oh, okay. Cut me some slack. You know what I'm saying. Do you really want to get further militarily involved in there? Chuck Hall. Well, I can't take it out on Chuck because he's my former neighbor. Yeah, I know. We already have a presence in military, but it's very thin. Do you want it escalated? You want to send more? Should I have said it that way? Falcon Steph, I swear I said you might be purposeful with agreeing with Trump. Too funny. Yeah, I definitely was. I definitely was. I wanted to force progressives to have to say, I agree with Donald Trump. And they did. Jamal, the only humane and legal solution is to let them all stay, document them, and get them involved in the system, teach them English to aid their participation in society. No easy answer, Jamal, but I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. Well, I got to catch up with these later. We should not send troops, but we should be engaged, says Ken Cohen. So more than Trump's attitude is one of let it just play out. In fact, it's not his attitude. He said that in Truth Social. He said literally that. Different times at Ellis Island, says James Down. True. I agree with that. Well, you know what though, James? Like I was about to say, the country really needed the labor that those were providing at Ellis Island. Those who came to Ellis Island would provide. But frankly, we need the labor today too. Maybe it's not as different as we think. Maybe it's not as different. And you know what I think every time we have this conversation? One more thing, if I may just say this. When I hear the comments that are made by some about those who are coming to the United States in search of a better life and the disparaging way in which they are spoken, I say to myself, my Carpatho-Rusin roots, I love saying that, right? My Lemko, Carpatho-Rusin roots and my Montenegrin roots. Like, I'm sure this is exactly what they said about my family. I'm sure that the waspy aristocracy was probably looking down their noses at the Montenegrins and the Carpatho-Rusins and saying, oh my God, where are all these people coming from? Learn English. Learn English. And of course they did. All right, I'm going to figure out which of these microphones I should be speaking into. No, I know. It's this one. It's this one. Did I say thank you? I'm going to say it again. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you if you bought a copy of Smercomics 2024. A funny thing is happening where a number of people, some of whom are in my orbit, are saying, how do I get a book? Where do I get a book? I want a book. And I have mixed emotions about this because on radio, I felt some days I was hitting it too hard. I don't want to always be hawking something. This was for charity, though. But I felt like I appropriately promoted the book and that anybody, this is my rationalization now, and that anybody who listens to the radio program on a regular basis or watches me on CNN or sees my social media, for goodness sakes, knows that a book was being sold of the editorial cartoons and all the money was going to charity. So my conscience is totally clear with the people who matter to me most, which frankly are the people who are watching this right now. And I have a number of people who are not listeners and are not viewers, and they might even be friends. And they're feeling closed out. And on one hand, I get it. And on the other hand, I don't. I'm like, this is something we did special for the radio audience primarily. So again, not to be a Debbie Downer, it all ended well. $200,000 for the Children's Crisis Treatment Center because of you. So thank you for that. Okay, see you on radio soon. Thanks. Oh, one more thing. We passed 50,000. PJ says thank you. I say thank you. We needed 50,000 YouTube subscribers, and we passed that milestone this weekend. Like and subscribe. How about a little like here? Come on. I've been rambling for 19 minutes. A little something for the juggler. All I ask is a like. Just a like. Yeah, a little bit of liking. Some liking going on. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. All right, there we go. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it very much. Peace to you, Mark. Peace to you. Peace to everybody. Yeah, great job, PJ, says Derek Devon. I totally agree. See you, gang.